Hello everyone, and welcome to Roleplaying 101. I go by Deranged or Newt, my co-host and Fathom, and we're just a couple of friendly neighborhood jams sharing some friendly neighborhood insight, things we see, things we experience, things that make us jump for joy or cringe. So let's get right to it. Today's episode might be a bit short. I am still a touch under the weather, but here we go. Let's see. Okay, we see this a lot. Don't be afraid of things that seem difficult, whether that's a gaming system or an in-game scenario. It's okay to run out of ideas. It's okay to get stuck or stumped. It's okay to get confused. A system can always be taken one step at a time and broken down, simplified. Get someone who knows it to break it down for you. Sometimes it takes that step to really help us figure out something out, because I know I sucked at advanced math and basic chemistry without mentors to guide me. Gaming's no different. And as for in-game stuff, just roll with it. Admit you've run out of ideas. Ask your table mates for help, if that's a viable option, and see if your GM is willing to give you hints. I know I usually am. A dead end sometimes might be a dead end, and in other cases you may just be missing a key item to pass the challenge. So never be afraid to admit you're stuck or ask for help, because it's what us GMs are here for. There's really no reason not to ask. There's just really no reason. Well, we'll get more into that later, because that'll get touched on again, the whole talking to your GM communication thing, because that seems to be something every episode. Now here's something we've discussed I think once before, but not really maybe in length. We've talked about freeform and freeform courtesy, and how people don't seem to be as familiar with the freeform rules as they used to. They just kind of roll into role plays and start doing stuff, and then when people get mad, they don't know why. And so there's a lot of confusion. And so recently Phantom decided to take a shot at running, a very loose freeform setting, something I've done many times and something they've likely done many times. But this time, as we keep experimenting with different player populations all over the internet, we're finding out one common theme. No one knows what freeform courtesy is anymore. There used to be a very short but universal set of rules of thumb that we went by, and nobody seems to know what these are anymore. And so I'm just going to go through a few of them for you, like the ones that I can remember offhand that everyone knew, that no one questioned. And one of the first main ones was never demand to join another person's scene. Never barge into a scene without asking. Some freeform games are run on giant open chat rooms, others are run on forums or places like Discord. Either way, one should always gain permission from the creator of the thread or plot arc before they go jumping in, unless the thread is clearly marked open to anyone. That means anyone can jump in, but for the most part, other threads might be private. They might have a set limit for characters. They might be in a place that's not accessible. You might have to literally ask the creator of the thread and see what's going on before you can actually jump in. And that's just kind of how it is, because in a freeform game, especially where there are no GMs, everyone's running their own threads. So everyone is sort of the GM of their own thread, so to speak. That's sort of how it goes. Let's see. Never cause harm or death to another person's character without their permission. I know that seems weird to some people, but this isn't a dice game. It's a collaborative storytelling game, and as such, the way it conducts combat and resolves conflicts is through storytelling. How they conduct their characters' actions and how you conduct your reactions determines who wins or loses, and if arguments occur within a community, a panel of other players might be asked their opinion, and their words decide all. So you have to respect that, or move on, or leave, or whatever, what have you. I don't know why combat and conflict causes such problems in games, but it does sometimes, especially in the freeform environment where you don't have dice to resolve your conflict. But even in a tabletop game where dice does resolve conflict, people still get angry when they lose a fight, so it's just sort of childishness to get angry about those sorts of things. Let's see. Never cause harm or destruction to major role-playing sites and setting locations without permission. Even if there's no GM present in the game, the rest of the community might get a little angry if you go nuking a major hotspot without anybody's say-so. The key word here is collaborative. the entire process is collaborative, and even if there's no actual GM, the setting itself might be something the players tend as a whole, and you need their permission to manipulate that in any way. Because, yeah, otherwise they're going to react negatively when you just go blowing things up, you know, whether it's like their favorite cafe or bar to hang out at, or you just literally level a whole town. I would literally ask the community's permission to do something like that. I just wouldn't want to make someone angry. It's just common courtesy, you know, especially when it's someone else's game. Okay. Well, we hear about this a lot. It's your responsibility to know your character's timeline and where it fits into the game. And this is important for tabletop is important as it is for freeform, because even in tabletop, people are constantly like, I want to call this character, I want to do this, I want to get in touch with this character. I'm like, well, that character's on a completely different timeline than you, so you calling them right now does nothing. You're going to have to wait, you know. And if you're 3 days behind everyone else, you cannot feasibly interact with anyone until your character passes those 3 days. So each thread is in its own timeline, so you have to check with the creator before you assume you're on the exact same day and time in game that they are, because people rarely are. People are usually totally on their own time frame. Some people pass weeks at a time, you know, within a few posts. Some people pass just hours, you know, within, you know, pages and pages of thread roleplay. So you never really know where in the timeline you are and where the timeline they are. So, you know, you have to touch base and kind of figure that out. And the last thing is, like, okay, you gotta respect your fellow role players and their genre tastes. Let's see, I lost my place. Oh yeah, and their writing styles and their personal opinions. I seem to have something going on in my chat over here. I'm switching over from Twitch, and so I don't know how any of this works, unfortunately. So it's like, even when I click in to try and, like, interact with it, it doesn't like to work. Yeah, it's not working today. I don't know why I have such a hard time with the chat out here on YouTube. It worked just fine on Twitch. I don't know why respect is such a hard thing. I really don't. I don't know why everyone snap judges everyone else based on everything that they say. Because that even corresponds to the games they like. We've talked about it before, about how people who like D&D jump on other people when they say that they're, like, looking for other games. They always ask for the opinion, but then they don't like it. And I don't understand what that's about, because in freeform, it's really, you're really, if you're not courteous, you're not going to get anywhere. That's pretty much how freeform works. If if you're not courteous as a player, if your character isn't to some measure courteous, you're probably not going to do very well in the freeform roleplay. And that's because nobody really likes interacting with assholes. Nobody really likes interacting with people who are constantly sarcastic and insulting. No one likes interacting with characters that are constantly brooding and have nothing to say, or that when other characters talk to them, they snap at them for their interaction. I don't understand how people think that they can play rude characters and then wonder why no one wants to roleplay with them. I don't know. It's because maybe if you respected your fellow roleplayers and their characters, you know, maybe they'd be more inclined to roleplay with you. You know, we're not here to judge. We're not here to put roleplayers into categories and figure out who's superior. That's silly. We're a bunch of role players, so just respect your fellow role players. That's all you have to do. Okay, this came up the other day, and it's sort of a funny topic, but it's also, like, not a funny topic. We used to make jokes about how people had main character syndrome, and they wanted to be literally the hero of the story. They're trying to run out and defeat every monster. They're trying to deal with every quest. They're trying to be that person who does everything. Usually they're a power player of some sort. That's just, those two things just usually correspond. But some people just want to be the main character. They feel the story should be about them. And it's kind of funny because acting like your character is the hero of an 80s action movie is likely going to get them killed. And we see people act this way, and it's pretty funny. I guess they think that actions don't have consequences, or, they don't realize that every action has an equal or opposite reaction. Your your character in a role-playing game, be it tabletop or freeform text, at best is a supporting character. Okay, they have to work and climb their way to a main character role, because at any point in time they can die, especially in GM run games, tabletop or otherwise. We control the flow of the story, the big nasties, even the weather. We're the ones in control. You, the players, are at the mercy of the pull and wake of the GM. Now, sometimes that's a bad thing when the GM is some sort of anal retentive or uses the game to bully others, shaming them, making them feel worthless for their in-game decisions and all that. But a GM should never be there to abuse you, but to guide you along your story, hopefully give you some decent hints, and keep you alive and some emergency options in the worst of scenarios. This may sound generous to some of you folks, but guess what? People still wind up getting killed in my freeform games, and quite frequently. One half of the players just make another character and move on, but the other half, they don't. So we just tell them goodbye, because we don't have time to take abuse from people if they're going to be rude with us when we've really tried to help them and they've literally refused to ask the GMs for questions, ask the GM questions about their character situation. They've ignored every in-game hint or warning we've given them, and then they turn on us like it's somehow our fault when they finally die. The other folks just make new characters and move on, which makes that reaction of entitlement reflect all the worse on those people. So, I don't know, just learn from your mistakes. Don't make characters who abuse NPCs in game, or abuse other characters for that matter. You never know how powerful that NPC actually is. Gods and archmages don't travel around looking like what they are, and why would they? Being incognito is half the advantage to being powerful. So tread carefully. Those NPCs aren't sheep, they're wolves. You have to be careful. And they have feelings, that's the thing. Like, I don't know where this attitude comes from, where you can just abuse the NPCs, you can treat them however you want, you can try to steal from them, or try to murder them sometimes, or cause property damage, and then not expect there not to be consequences to those actions. I just don't understand that thinking. Again, I don't understand why other people don't understand. But that's hilarious, which leads into my conclusive topic. If a player is giving you trouble and they're continuing breaking the same rule over and over again, I strongly encourage folks to operate on a 2 or 3 strike system. I'm a 1 striker myself when it comes to most things, but with role-playing games I might give extra ones. Thing is, if they break the rule once, chances are they'll do it again and again and again. This is why I just cut some people out as soon as I think they're going to be a problem. I can remember 2 people in semi-recent history. Everything I said to them just seemed to go in one ear and out the other. And we just couldn't communicate. And if we can't communicate, we can't roleplay. That's just a simple fact. But when they break the same rule or multiple rules, and they make it clear they've never read them in the first place, we tend to get over it pretty quick, and you should too. Some players are just trolls. And they don't deserve your time. Twitch was giving me problems, Nori. What can I say? YouTube has given me some troubles with the chat box, but we'll figure it out and see what's going on. But thanks for tuning in. Do you have any questions? Anything you'd like to talk about? Because I've pretty much exhausted all my topics today. I know it was pretty short, but I didn't have much going on, and I've been recovering. These are my excuses anyway. Yes, we see a lot of things, and we see it over and over again. I don't know why entitlement is such a problem. We were just discussing this, Phantom and I, because apparently this is a problem with other GMs and DMs and storytellers as well. Players just acting like they have a right to tell you how to do your job, when it's not a job. We're not getting paid. Therefore, if I'm not getting paid, you don't get to tell me how to run my game. That's really how that is. Games are, in a way, a freedom of expression. It's art. So, yeah, you're just going to have to respect that. And some people are going to run, offensive games, and you don't have to play in their games. Some people are going to run, games that are open to everyone and don't judge and box people in. And, yes, Phantom's story. Entitled character burned down a tavern and attempted to skip out on his debt. Yes, this did happen recently. We've had characters skip out on things before. This is just the most recent thing in history that I can think of, anyway. No. Well, no, I haven't had any problems recently. At least, except, people getting their characters in on time. That's a major problem. So maybe we should talk about that for just a brief moment. Working on your character, getting it done, being familiar with your character sheet, these are all your responsibilities as a player. I don't know how anyone can expect anyone else to keep track of that stuff. And it's so simple, You have so little to keep track of in most instances, and it's all there on your sheet. So just please do it and get it done in a timely fashion. I don't understand why it takes some people 4 weeks to make a character, or longer in some instances, when I'm trying to start a game, or the game's already started and they're literally missing sessions as a result of them not having a character ready. Therefore they're not getting experience, they're not growing. I'm not going to give them advantages just because they're joining the game late. That was never discussed. I don't do those sorts of things usually, not unless I'm running a very specific campaign with very specific players that I know very well, and can trust. With people I don't know, I have to be tentative and be careful, because people will try to join your game late and sneak all of these things onto their character. Well, I'm joining late in the game, shouldn't I get more experience? No, you shouldn't, because you haven't been doing the work that the other players did. The other players have been showing up to the sessions, they've been putting in the work, they deserve the experience. Your character does not. It took you 4 weeks to make it, now you're 4 weeks out the experience. What can I say? Everyone else had their characters ready. So, get your characters done, take care of it, keep track of it. Don't make the GM constantly look at your character sheet. God, there's nothing I hate more than having to look at somebody's character sheet. I don't know where that is. Luckily, at most of my real pen and paper games where we're sitting around a table, I have other players who can then turn to that person and be like, it's right here. So I don't have to do that, luckily. But in the Discord games, the text games, where all I have is text on a page or a PDF or a photo copy of their actual character sheet, it just gets a little aggravating for me to have to go to look at their character sheet and tell them what they're supposed to roll, how many dice they're supposed to roll. It's just a little annoying. This is why I so rarely run games for people who are truly, truly new to the systems. When I do run games for people that are new, I throw all of these complaints aside. I expect new people to not know anything. Okay, I understand. That's when you're new, that's how it is. You don't know anything. That would be me in any game I've never played, and so I have to have patience for those people, because I would want the GM to have patience for me when I show up going, I don't know what anything is, can you explain it to me? Because I can be that person sometimes, so I get it. When you're new, it's fine. Ask your questions, get all the help that you can. Familiarizing yourself with a new character sheet can be a little daunting, but for the most part, in World of Darkness, Especially when they don't update. You're right, Phantom. Especially when they don't update the character sheet. Yeah, when we have to remind them constantly. Did you update it? Did you spend that willpower? Did you add the experience? I have to ask Asmodee all the time. Did you add the experience to your sheet? No, I didn't. Well, you better do that. Otherwise, you're not going to remember that you earned it. I mean, I realize it's in the chat log, but still, it's a little hard to go, find it, because people are usually talking about other crap. So, just keep track of stuff. Note it down, write it down. We have phones, you can write it in a memo, so I don't know. You would think it would be easy this day and age with electronic sheets, but I don't know, I guess it's not. Well, I've about talked all I can today. My lungs still not quite are working the way that they should. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Thanks for partaking, Phantom. Thanks for showing up, Nori. I appreciate it. That's a huge deal to me. We'll have another discussion likely either on Friday, but most likely next Monday. Here's hoping I can keep up with the rest of my schedule this week. Phantom, yes, add something, by all means. You can add something at any point. I will always touch on your comments. Because it's good to hear from all of us. And it's good to hear everyone's experiences, because we see a lot of similar things, and sometimes I mean, I'm happy to wait. All right. I agree with this. 3 things that should be stricken from the gamer lexicon is, this is the DM's job. No, DM is not being paid. DMing is not a job. A good DM would do X, or only a bad DM would do Y, as in variables. And, yeah, your DM doesn't owe you anything. They, to be quite frank and vulgar, they don't owe you a goddamn thing. They're here to run a game, a recreation, that they're trying to have fun doing. And by you making demands, all you're doing is, again, proving your entitlement. Proving that you think you deserve more than the average player. Because it is not my job to bend the game to your whim. It is my job to make sure the entire table is having fun. Not just having fun, but also feeling challenged, okay? And hopefully, by the grace of the gods that are, learn a lesson, okay? Because in my eyes, that's what storytelling is for. The first stories were fables and myths, and they usually had some sort of moral for mortals to learn. So, with that in mind, I like to carry that to the tabletop, and in text roleplay, and make sure that people are being challenged and that they're learning something, that they and their characters are learning something, because roleplay is a good, safe place to challenge yourself and to encounter themes and genres that would otherwise either make you uncomfortable or maybe even would normally annoy you, because there are definitely certain genres that I just don't really care for. Steampunk is one of them, usually because it over-romanticizes the Victorian era, which I'm not a fan of since I'm such a history nerd. But when you give me gritty realism with steampunk, then I'm intrigued. And you can lure me to your game, because now we're in a very dirty world filled with disease and ichor and, with bad medicine, humor medicine, and just, and that's the kind of world that I'm looking to explore. I'm not looking for the romanticized version of it where everything's clean and everyone's healthy. No. I want the dirt and the grime and the oil and the smoke and the black lung from the coal miners and, just all that good period drama stuff, But that's me, But yeah, it's not our job to bend to your will. It just isn't. If you're paying us, completely different situation. Because then it's a client, situation. It's now a professional relationship, not just a recreational one, where in the recreational sense, as I said, we're here to have fun. We're here to have fun, and nobody should be barring us from our fun. No one should be demanding that we cater to their fun. That's sort of like the kid that comes over when everyone's hanging out at your house and demands that they all play the game they want to play, and everyone says no. So that kid just storms out and goes home. And that's fine. Leave my game. I prefer it that way. Oh yes, Phantom has a wonderful addition. By the way, never make assumptions about anything in-game. If, for example, there's a military dictatorship going on, and slavery is legal, then the healers might not go by the Hippocratic Oath. So you might not want to make that assumption. First and foremost, if you're in a fantasy game, you probably shouldn't assume that earthen standards and philosophies hold true there. They probably don't mean anything. They're probably empty words. Or words that mean something completely different that might not have the positive connotation that you think it does. So you really need to be careful bandying about. My rates for DMing, oh my goodness, I feel like I had fair prices a while ago, and now it's like I feel like I should get paid at least $15 an hour at this point. I've had to deal with so many reckless and unruly players in the last year, maybe year and a half, but it just almost doesn't even seem worth it, to run for $15 an hour. Not if they're going to be acting like that, but maybe if they're paying me, they'll shut the hell up. I don't know. I'm happy to make a game to cater to somebody. I can make an entire setting, I can homebrew rules, I can use simply traditional rules, whatever. I'm pretty versatile. World of Darkness, D&D. I'm just now learning Pathfinder, so bear with me on that one. I'm not anywhere close to the point where I'd be comfortable running it, even adapted or simplified. I need a little time in that system to familiarize myself with everything. I've been wanting to buy some old GURPS books and see about getting back into that system. I don't remember anything about it. Year and a half? Has it been a year and a half? Okay. I'm not surprised. I had to think about it, I'm like, yeah, year and a half. Yeah, it just felt like it's been a long time. You do, Phantom. I know you will. You'll pay. You do already. You buy me pizzas all the time. I get it. But yeah, we'll have to set something up and do some game streaming, so people can see how I run games. Once I figure out this stupid chat box and get everything working right. It's probably because I'm using OBS Studio and it doesn't work, it doesn't have the same interface. So we'll figure out what works best. But again, thanks for joining me. Thanks for keeping me company. Thanks for your thoughts, guys. I really appreciate it. We will either, like I said, we might meet on Friday, but if not, we'll have our next session on Monday, like normal. Appreciate you guys.